What's up, guys? Welcome back to another video, and this is my video on explaining how the Saturn V rocket works. Alright guys, so take a look at this thing. This, by the way, is an over 1,000 piece model Lego of the Saturn V rocket, which is the biggest rocket that us Americans have ever made. It stands at an amazing 363 feet tall with a diameter of 33 feet. That's really, really big. And we liked this so much that it was launched 13 times with no loss of crew or payload. That's amazing for a loss to launch ratio. So now, let's go and take a look at the back of this monstrous behemoth of a rocket. Alright, so now we're at the back of the rocket where these 5 rocket-powered engines shot the Saturn V rocket up all the way into space. And this is a part of the first stage, by the way. And fun fact, this rocket on the way up from ground to space, it puts out the same amount of pollution a car would put out in 2 centuries. Alright, another really cool thing about this is I said that this was the first stage, just because there's 3 stages inside of this rocket to get it all the way up to the moon. And actually, after this was all said and done, the moon operations, it actually helped put up the first American space station called the Skylab. Alright, but now, enough about the facts. Let's talk about how this thing gets up there. Alright guys, so I have the first stage of the rocket right here. This is the main part that gets it way up into the upper atmosphere so it can help it on the rest of its journey. So, like I said, those giant 5 engines rocketed up there. There's astronauts that have been pretty scared when they're being attached to a flying explosion. One other thing. This is the biggest part of the rocket. It actually takes up half of its mass because it's half the size of the rocket. It's also filled with most of the fuel that gets put in here because they need a lot of fuel to power these giant engines. But now, let's look at the second stage of the rocket. Alright, so this is the second stage of the rocket. This would go attached to this if it were still on here. And this part would get it out into space. So the first stage would get it out of the atmosphere. This would propel it farther into space. So these are used 5 other engines, but they're a lot smaller. They don't produce as much thrust and power from the other engines, but they still get the job done pretty well. This stage of the rocket also stores a lot of fuel. It also takes up a lot of its mass, but nothing compared to that first stage. So now, let's look at the final stage of the rocket, which has many different parts, so you're going to have to pay attention. Alright guys, so now we're at the third stage of the rocket. This is probably the smallest in terms of diameter, but it is pretty long. It's a little longer than the second stage. But this thing has a lot of parts. So this entire section would bring it close to the moon, just close enough so they can use the next thing that comes out of this. So when it got there, it would decouple just like that. And then you can see in here is the lunar module that would come out. And as that happens, these 2 things split apart. So there's one half and there's the other half, revealing this little engine right here. This is where it comes really in handy. So this top here would break off, and if you want to know what this tip is, actually has more use. So if this was taking off from the ground and there was something wrong, there would be engines right here that would propel the cockpit from the rest of the rockets to keep the astronauts from dying in the explosion. Which came really handy in a few times, but there's no actual casualties, which is really good. So once it gets out there, this would decouple from the rest of the rocket, and so you'd be left with this. And then the lunar module would attach to here, and then they'd fly all the way to the moon like this, and then they would get into the lunar module, drop down onto the moon, do whatever they had to do, come back to this module, connect, evacuate this lunar module and go into this, and then they would fly back to Earth using only this. It would take quite a while, and then this top part would decouple from the rest of the rocket where the astronauts are, and they would come in through re-entry and use their parachutes to gently go into the water, and they would look like that, with the raft deployed and the other rafts on top in case it capsized. So yeah. Alright guys, that's it for this video. I hope you guys learned something and I hope you enjoyed it. If you want me to do more videos like this, I have so many other space things and airplanes I could probably tell you guys about. If you want me to do the next one on the lunar module, which is this thing right here that I showed you, it's very interesting actually. Almost as intricate as the Saturn V rocket because there's so many cool things that they did on the lunar module. So if you want to see about that and like this video, do the polls I'll be doing on Instagram, just see if anyone wants to see it. Smack that like button just so you smack your friends, and I'll see you guys in the next video.